Hello YouTube, it's Tuesday. it's Tuesday and we are without grid power. Okay, so what a perfect time to actually put together the solar charge controller. See the solar panel right behind me. Got some cable with MC4 connectors. So we're going to do a little project since it's time to be able to charge the batteries. And this would be exactly the same as it would be for on the boat. We're here at the rental, but same setup that we've got going on the boat. Okay, so let's get going here with this little project. Okay, so set the camera up a different way so you can see what I'm doing here. So I get all of these supplies come from Alt-E. A-L-T-E, Alt-E. Been making renewable doable since a long time ago. But this is a Sunsaver 6. It's probably technically a solar lighting controller, but it's a nice 12-volt solid state compact controller with just enough amperage for what I'm doing. And then they sell these pre-made cables. These are the UV resistant what do they call it? These are the cables for outdoor solar arrays, photovoltaic cable, something like that, I don't know. But these are the MC4 connectors that you see on here, a male and a female. And the same ones are come on the solar panel, which also came from Alt-E. And so I get one cable like this. This is a jumper cable. I think this is 30 feet. And what I'll do is cut it in half, and then these connectors will go to the solar panel, and where I cut it in the middle, I'm going to attach to the solar controller. So I'll make a video of that. I don't know if I'll talk all the way through it, but I'll try to show you what I'm doing to accomplish that. And then the only other thing is to make a set of jumper cables to go to the battery itself for the charging of the battery. And we'll get into that after we get this cable to the array ready. All right, so let's get going. I like to use a razor knife and insert it into these zip ties. If you insert it in right here, you can defeat the locking mechanism, and then the tie will slide open, and now you can use it again. So all I did is insert the knife in here to push the part that locks against this track away, and I can use that zip tie again later. Okay, now I've got to find the middle of this cable, which means I've got to unroll it, so give me a second for that. All right, this should be pretty close to center, so we're just going to cut it right here. There we go. Now we have two pieces. Okay. Next thing to do is to strip the coating. Can do this any number of ways. I'm going to try to use a razor to do it. You can also use one of these tools. This is probably the more appropriate way, but I don't think I have a size for this size cable, so I'm going to do it the way I would normally do it. I'll just cut a circle around with a razor, and then try to slide that insulation off the end. Didn't get it. And this cable is way overboard for the application. However, with DC electronics, we want the thickest cable we can get, and we definitely want this UV protection because this stuff's going out in the sun. So I don't mind that this part of it coming from the array is, let's call it over-engineered for the application. This would be for a large array where you'd have many panels in series or parallel and much higher, you know, up to 600 volts or something. And we're just not going to see that with this application. But the convenience of a cable that can be outside as well as connectors that are already on it is worth it for me. Not sure what's the hold up here. Try twisting it. Yeah. Okay, just the rifling. All right, so what I ran into with the other one, sorry, hopefully you can still see what I'm doing here. I'll adjust the angle a little bit. Okay, what I ran into with the other one, because I already made one of these, the one that's on the boat, this was too big to fit inside my connectors. So I want to use these ring connectors on the wire, and the wire is just too big. But these will fit nicely, these ring terminals fit nicely on the screws for the solar controller. So what I did on the other one, and I'm going to do it again here, I'm going to split this wire into two. So I'm going to unbundle it and let it be right here at the end. It's going to be in two different bundles, and then I'm going to put two connectors on, one on each of these, and they'll just be back to back. And then the back to back connectors will be what I screw onto the terminal. Maybe not ideal, but these are pretty small posts, and I couldn't get a much larger one on there, and I've got to get both of these in this one little spot. So that was my idea for a solution, and it seems to work okay on the other one, so we're going to do it again. Okay, at this point I just don't want to exclude any of these strands, so all the strands have to be in one of the bundles or the other, and they are. And let's see if I have the right size. The right size ring terminal for this size screw. Yeah, that fits nicely. Let's see if there's a slightly larger one that might fit as well. These are, and you wind up with a bunch of these things around the boat because when you have to fix things, you need them. These are both size 8, actually. Okay, these are 8 4mm. And I was really fortunate when I purchased this boat. The owner was, well, it's Fred Luke was the previous owner. He's a Virginia pilot, one of the harbor pilots for Chesapeake Bay here in the Virginia area. And he was retired and he was moving away to be closer to family. And he left everything with the boat. So he had the boat for 10, 15 years prior to me and kept up with it. And he left all the little bits and pieces that you need for keeping up with the boat. So that was fortunate for me. if you're not in that situation, all these things are readily available. You're out of the States, it would be called a chandlery. I think that's what chandlery. I don't know. The British names for everything take over everywhere else in the world because they kind of sailed the world first, I guess, in a major way. All right. Or maybe that's French. I have no idea. In the States, we're not so fancy. It's a boat store, usually West Marine, as close to whatever marina you're in. Or online, I use Defender. Defender is awesome for online stuff. I think they're in Connecticut. All right, so then I got those on there, and we just squeeze them in here to close the connector. Okay, that's going to stay on there. I'm happy with that. Usually a both hands operation. Okay. All right, so I've got two connectors on there. I hope you can see how I've got them opposite each other, so they're going to go back to back and sit flat together. Can you see that? And then I'm going to put that on the post, both like that. Okay, so we'll make up the other one, and I'll see you back in a minute. So these are heat shrink, so I can apply some heat to these, hair dryer, or I have a little torch that will shrink these, and I'm also going to use some electrical tape to finish sealing this end up to cover anything up, so there won't be anything able to touch anything except right here at the end of the ring. And then those are going to go, one will go here and the other will go here for positive and negative. So I'm going to have to look at the solar panel to establish which of these is positive and negative. And then I usually do something to this end of the cable that attaches to the solar controller to let me know which one is positive or negative. If I have my red electrical tape, I'll put some red on the positive one. If I don't, I'll put extra black on the black one, so I have some indication of which cable is which. But you can always trace it all the way back to the solar panel as well, or take a multimeter and figure out which one is positive or negative before you attach them. And after I make these connections, this wiring harness, remember, because it's this free end down to this cable that connects into either a jumper or the solar panel, this harness is going to stay connected to this controller. They'll forever be connected to each other. So after I get it right once, I won't worry about it anymore. I keep them attached. And then you can't mess these connectors up once you have it properly positive to positive, negative to negative. The male-female connectors in the MC4 make it really easy to connect and disconnect. One thing you will need, though, well, it's handy to have, I don't know if you need it, is this. They sell this tool for MC4 connectors. So I have one of these, and you can insert this over the top of the connector like this, and it will release. Let's get the other end and I'll show you. So the MC4 connector works like this, male to female, and locks in place. And then this will release that connection. It fits over these tabs here that you have to press in. So it will press both tabs simultaneously for you. And then you can extract the connector like that. So without the tool, somewhat difficult. With the tool, it's pretty quick, pretty easy. This takes a little bit to get it lined up. Okay, and these are completely waterproof and UV resistant as well. Okay, so those are the two cables for the solar panel. And now we need the cables that are going to go to the battery. So I have just some regular wire here. Sorry, I keep losing my arm that's holding the tablet that I'm recording on just keeps sinking and sinking and sinking. Gravity is taking over. So what I'm going to do with this is red will be positive, black will be negative, and these are going to go from here on the charge controller, and the other end I'm going to put a big ring terminal on them. I don't know if I have them here in my box. I probably have to go find them. Some larger ring terminals, like a 3/8 or a 1/2 inch, that's going to fit over a post on the battery. And then I'll be able to put that all together with the screw-on posts on the battery. All right, so I'll probably do that work off camera and then get back on here to show you assembling the whole thing and testing it out. Okay? All right, see you in a bit. Thank you. All right, just looking at the panel here, these are already clearly labeled positive and negative. So the positive is going to the male terminal, and the negative going to the female. So I should take, on the jumper that I made, the female connector will go here, and that will go to the positive on the charge controller. Okay, so we got the cables plugged in. It's the MC4 connectors we talked about before. Of course, I'll actually put this in the sun when it's time to really charge batteries, but let's see, even partial sun in the shade here. What do we got? Let's see if we can do this. Okay, so the panel is already 19.2 volts, so somewhat over 12, and of course the charge controller will take that down to 12 when I get a battery on it. And without a load on it, you're going to see a higher voltage when it starts to charge. It'll normalize a lot closer to what the standing voltage of the battery is, unless it's in direct sunlight. So when it comes time to put the battery on it, I'll move it out front or somewhere where I get more direct sun. Let's talk about the cable that's going to go to the battery. So I just used this wire that I had, and I've put these number 8 terminals that I had on the one end. This will connect to the solar charge controller, and on the other end some larger terminals that I had, and these will go on the battery. All right. And the one thing that's a consideration with any of these things is within some number of inches of the battery. I think it's 6, 9, or 12. Sorry, I forget. You can look it up. Someone can post if they want to about that. You need a fuse on the positive close to the battery. So I handle it like this. I took the positive and cut it, and I'm just going to use an automotive fuse. So I've got these blade type connectors here, and I can plug the automotive fuse into the blades on each side, and that puts it back together. All right, so that gives me protection from the battery, because this could be hundreds of amps when you're connected to basically a car battery is what these are. These are deep cycle marine group 31 batteries, but lots and lots of amperage available, so you want a fuse close to where that amperage is coming from. So that's the purpose of this. And then when I don't want to be on the battery, all I've got to do is that. So it gives me a quick way to get the battery out of the loop as well. It's sort of a very temporary setup, but that's all I'm doing. I charge the batteries, I monitor them while I'm charging them, and then when I'm done, I put all this stuff away. So that's my solution for that. Let's see, what else can I say? Let's hook it up, see what we get. And here we are with the final setup. So solar panels outside, got the cables running in the door here. I've put the red on the positive, the black on the negative, connected black to the negative of the battery, red to the positive of the battery, and I don't have the fuse in line yet. So we're ready to, let's first of all see what the charge controller is doing on its own. Looks like nothing, because we're pretty well shaded. So let's see if I can plug this fuse in one-handedly. Again, these are group 31. That's the battery we're using. Optima. And okay, that's all the way in there. Now we get an indication, see the red lights on for the battery. And if I can get on these terminals here. So the battery's at 12.75, and the charge control light is on steady, which means it's charging. And the red for the battery means it's deeply discharged. And as I indicated before, the whole system has kind of normalized out to where the battery is. So 12.77. And on the battery itself, 12.76, so just barely charging. So what we need to do is get more sunlight. So where can we put this panel? How about over there? Well, it's better, but not full sun. I'll move it somewhere. So it's still partially shaded on the panel, and slightly better on the voltage we're getting on the charge controller. So 12.87. The charger is moved to the yellow, so it's in the mid-range of charging the battery now. It doesn't think it's deeply discharged anymore. And we'll check the battery voltage, about the same. All right, so that's all there is to it, the wiring and the project. And I just got to find somewhere with some more sun. And again, this is exactly the same setup that is in use on the boat when I pull out that panel to charge the batteries on the boat. Okay, thank you. Moved everything out front to get a lot more sun out here. So I've got the panel in full sun, and got the battery and the charge controller up here. So let's see what we're getting now. Okay, 13.27 coming from the panel. And 13 point, cable in the way. So 13.2 going to the battery. And these will usually charge up to 13.1, maybe 13.2 when they're brand new. The ones I have now are a couple years old, so 13.1 is pretty good, so that's a decent amount of charge. Which light is on down here? It's actually on the green already, so it's up in the float charge, so it's just going to maintain that. So that was a pretty much fully charged battery. And we'll just check what's coming from the panel again. 13.2 from the panel. So the charge controller takes care of nominalizing those voltages to make everything work out. And this is exactly what happens on the boat too when I'm using the solar. And so there you go. And I can hear generators around. I don't have a generator here, so I'm gonna get by with these batteries while we're waiting for the power to come back on and moving on with the day. Okay, thank you. If you like this kind of content, please like and subscribe.